Hey, science class, have you ever wondered why you look the way you do? Or why you are left-handed when most people are right-handed? Do you ever wonder why you look really similar to your brothers and sisters, or maybe why you look so different from them? These are all questions that can be studied and answered through heredity. And heredity is how parents pass down their characteristics or traits to their children. And traits that are passed on to children could include eye color, hair color, body build, even the smell of your armpits, and also some of your behavior is controlled uh, and passed down from your parents. Okay, and parents can also pass on certain diseases and disorders like hemophilia, which is a blood clotting disorder. Your blood doesn't clot. Okay, it's very dangerous. And also the chance of getting cancer could be inherited from your parents. But a long time ago, no one knew anything about how we get our traits. People thought babies were a mix of their parents' traits. For example, if a black squirrel and a white squirrel were to have babies, the babies would be gray. Or another example would be if your mom was really tall and your dad was really short, you would be somewhere in the middle. We know now that this is completely wrong. Okay, and uh, back then there was this guy named Gregor Mendel, and he had questions about those things. He noticed that you weren't a blend of your parents, and he was a monk, and he's had a lot of time on his hands. And he spent 8 years studying pea plants, like the food, and he figured out that parents give their offspring physical traits, and we know now that these traits are controlled by genes. And he was studying the genes without knowing they were genes for pea texture, pea color, pea plant height, and even flower color. And so he took these purple flowers and he bred them with the white flowers, and he noticed that they were always purple. They weren't like a lavender color. They weren't a mix of a blend of white and purple. They were purple. And he was curious. Why is this going on? So he bred these white flowers and these purple flowers together. And this means he took this little paintbrush and he wiped it on this flower to get some pollen off of it, and then put it on this flower to put some pollen on it. Okay, that's how plants reproduce. And then the offspring, or the baby pea plants, every single one of them was purple. Okay, which he thought was curious. This white seemed to disappear. So it was purple, all the babies were purple, and then he bred these baby pea plants together. Okay, and he found out that 3 out of the 4 uh, baby pea plants would be purple every single time, and 1 out of the 4 would be white. So this white flowered pea plant shows up again, okay, later. And he was able to figure out 2 really important things about how heredity works. First, that each parent pea plant has 2 copies of the flower color gene, and they get 1 from each parent. And the second thing that he figured out is that certain genes hide the other one. So now he knows that all these peas have 2 copies of the gene for flower color. And the genes that hide the other copy are called dominant. And we give them capital letters to help us remember, okay? And the ones that get hidden are called recessive, and we give them the same letter but in lowercase right here. Okay, so the first purple plant had 2 copies of the purple flower gene. Okay, so they had 2 copies, this capital P, capital P. And together, when bred with the lowercase p, the offspring they would get one pea from this plant and 1 pea from this plant. So now we have this hybrid where it has 2 different copies of a gene. Okay, but this gene for white, it doesn't show up because this dominant gene, the purple, is hiding it. And the recessive genes, they need two copies to show up. And that comes when this pea plant is bred with itself. And so the different options are is that you could have a pea plant with two capital P's, which would be purple. And then you'd have a pea plant with a lowercase and a capital P, which would also be purple. Okay, and you have two of those. And then every once in a while you'd have two lowercase p's, which because there's no dominant gene to overshadow them, it can be white. Okay, and so that's the basics of Mendel and his pea plants. And we're going to learn more about these recessive and dominant genes, and we're going to do some experiments with them. Okay?